All right, it looks like we are live and in living color. I will just jump right in very quickly. I want to welcome everybody. You have joined the Demystifying Mobile Messaging, Learn Best Practices from the Experts panel. If you're in the wrong place, it's okay. Pull up a chair, stay a while. We have some amazing leaders for you to hear from. We will welcome anyone that wants to be on this panel. As progressive change makers, we've learned, I think, in the last few years that we benefit greatly from a multi-channel engagement approach to our work through email and mobile messaging. It helps cut through the noise. It meets people where they're at. To deliver meaningful actions to our supporters. That's where mass mobile messaging comes in, which is what our experts will talk about today and provide some insights on how to help make your program sing. Kind of the run of show for us, we're going to do some introductions, dive into some exciting deck play, open it up for discussion, and then open it up for you for questions. I'm Marvin Steele, the Director of Partnerships for the Action Network. That includes Action Builder. A little bit about us. Action Network is a nonprofit digital mobilizing and organizing toolset provider. We're a union shop. We operate off a cooperative development model, which means we build tech, I think, with integrity and through our relationships with our partners, like the DNC and Daily Kos. We help steward our product development roadmap, which results in us developing tools and features that we think support the work of true practitioners in a practical way for the progressive movement. I want to quickly also thank the entire Netroots team for doing a great job for the second year in a row, operating in some tough conditions to stand up these virtual conferences. This is not easy. So we're super grateful to them for the opportunity to have a place to really fellowship and learn from each other. Also a quick plug, if you have not voted in the Action Network Pet Contest, there is still time. You may have received a text about it, seen a banner ad featuring our mascot, Sunny, seen it trending on social media, or perhaps overheard it on the virtual streets of Netroots. So we definitely encourage you to vote in the pet contest. I'm sure someone from our team will pop up a link to do that. I want to quickly introduce Mari Vangen, who is our brilliant product manager at Action Network. Mari, you want to say a couple of things about yourself?
Sure, yeah. I'm Mari. I'm located in Minneapolis, and I'm the Action Network product manager. And I'm excited to talk mobile, our newest add-on to the Action Network toolset.
I would just say that Mari is a wonderful human and a go-to for the organization, particularly for me when I don't have answers to things, which is quite often. I will go to Mari and she always provides the answer to it. Thanks, Mari. I want to introduce our really a beloved expert trainer and senior partnership success specialist, Seth Pinckney, to say hello. Many of you probably have talked to Seth if you've done any training or engagement with our tools at some point. Seth?
Thanks, Marvin. Hi, everyone, and virtual Netroots land. Excited to be here. As Marvin mentioned, partner success specialist, helping on support and helping programs get up and running with mobile messaging. I'm so happy to be part of the panel, and I'll be keeping my eyes on the chat.
Awesome. Thanks, Seth. Now I want to introduce our guest of honors to say hello, our real experts. I was joking around with Rachel and Jess earlier saying that if I wasn't on this panel, we might have the best panel in Netroots with these experts. I definitely bring the average down, but I want to introduce Rachel Collier from the Daily Kos and Jess Porter from the DNC. Again, I'm sure many of you have heard them or know them. They're just wonderful, smart leaders in our community, so I want to introduce them. Rachel, you want to say a few things about yourself?
Rachel, I think you're muted.
You're right, I am. Thank you. First technical problem out of the way. There we go. So I've been working on online campaigns at Daily Kos for 10 years now, helping build email lists for clients and managing activism technology. So that is why I'm here. From email to mobile have both been things that I've been working on for the past few years.
Awesome. You also have a stunningly cool background. I love that. And then I'll turn it over to Jess Porter from the DNC. Jess?
Hey all, very excited to be here. I'm Jess, I'm the email and SMS director at the DNC. Been at the DNC 4 years in February, which is quite a long time at the committee. Have been a long time part of the email team, and then just 2 years ago stewarded the SMS fundraising program at the DNC and also ran it for the Biden for President campaign. So very excited to talk about mobile today.
Awesome, and just grateful to both of you all. Again, I mentioned earlier that we operate off of a cooperative development model, and that means that we work with our partners to really develop our tech and the features that everyone benefits from. And Rachel and Jess do a great job of working with Mari on that, so I appreciate that. And now I'll turn it over to Mari, who is going to kick off our deck play with Jess and Rachel and kind of walk through some things and help folks figure out how to navigate mobile. Mari?
Cool. Yeah. So Rachel, wanted to start with you. If you want to talk just a little bit about your overall program and specifically touch on the way that y'all use call campaigns to drive advocacy. And I know we have a couple examples, so maybe using those as well. And I'll pull those up.
Yeah, fantastic. So we'll jump right in. Thank you for the introductions, and also thank you everyone who's participating and attending virtually. At Daily Kos, our SMS program is viewed as a complement to our email program. It's a way to add an extra contact to our campaigns, share mixed media, help drive phone calls, and easy mobile activism. Our program is a mix of news, actions, call campaigns, RSVPs, volunteer requests for GOTV, videos, and other content that we host like podcasts, webinars, and trainings. One of our most used Action Network features are call campaigns, where we drive phone calls into the offices of elected officials. This is really effective for generating advocacy and winning campaigns. And one of the things that we have found recently as an emerging trend is that we found that short, simple, direct messages with clickable numbers are highly effective at generating calls on Capitol Hill and statewide offices. The examples that you see are some of our successful call campaigns recently. And as you can see, the message is really short. It has a simple script about what our activists can say when they make the call and the phone number to use. So when they click on that phone number, it will open the phone app on your phone and then click send and connect you directly to your target offices, which are generally your elected officials. We have found that this is really effective and at driving calls. And my guess would be because of the user experience. It's a very simple and direct way to make contact, as well as having the message, your script in your message makes it just that much easier for activists to remember what they're going to say and to feel confident in making their phone call. This trend has come up repeatedly and is winning our message testing. So we keep rolling with it. We keep using it in our message tests. And we're even finding that it's really helpful and winning some of our tests regarding letter campaigns and petitions as well. So it's a really interesting trend that is getting our readers and activists to make their contacts efficiently. While we use call campaigns the most, the Daily Kos team has also found it's really important to mix in other types of broadcast SMS messages to keep engagement up and keep our list active by including a variety of engagement activities, many of which I've already mentioned. We send a variety of national campaigns, geo-targeted campaigns, and issue campaigns, as well as breaking news and GeoTV requests. I have a few other interesting thoughts, but Mari, do you want me to stop there, or should I continue for a few minutes?
Yeah, I actually had a follow-up question for you. So talking about sending a number and asking folks to call into a number and then being connected to their elected official at whatever level versus a lot of folks might be familiar with click to call, where folks are directed to a web form where they input their information and they're called. I know you did some testing about that. Can you speak a little bit more specifically to some of the results that you found?
Yeah, so I think that either of these methods could be effective depending on the goals of your program. So I can see where it may be strategically useful to send folks to a web form, especially if you are trying to gather new contacts, because on a web form, you can pick up first name, last name, email, zip code, and then have that phone call activated to the user's phone. So I think that there is a really good strategic benefit to that if you are building your list or reactivating subscribers or when we are generally sending to our SMS list, we're already sending this to our active SMS users. And so what we are doing is targeting folks that are on our list who we know are going to make phone calls or who we really want to make phone calls for us. And so that is strategically what we're looking for. And this makes it easier for folks, in my opinion, in our experience, to make those phone calls. So I think both of them are really valuable tools that Action Network offers, but I think that they serve two different purposes. And, what we found is that by hitting the web page, because folks are filling out more forms, more form fields, the conversion rate is a little lower. And sometimes, we see that folks are a little surprised to receive the call. But that I think that was more of a function of how we explained the situation on the web form than, I think you can mediate that by explaining the user experience on the web form for folks. So that's what we found. That's what works for us. I would encourage folks to think about what their strategic priorities are and make their choices that way. Mari, you may be on mute.
Cool. You're right. I am on mute. More technical difficulties. I was just saying I like that kind of differentiation between list building and using a more traditional click to call for list building, and then using a call-in number if you have a campaign with you want to have a lower barrier to entry. So that's great. We're going to ask more questions of Rachel, but wanted to hand it over to Jess to talk a little bit about some of the pieces of your mobile campaign that you've been developing. And I think specifically, talking about engagement. So there's lots going on with kind of peer-to-peer and, the future of peer-to-peer and how we can continue to engage with people and have conversations with broadcast and using different tools there. So kick it over to you, Jess.
Yes, would love to talk about engagement over SMS. So just for context, especially on the DNC side, our SMS program started out as kind of a scrappy experiment back in 2019. We wanted to see if it would be a decent fundraising channel for us and also a way to mobilize folks to vote ahead of the general election. And it turned out to be a super, super important stream of communication for us, as well as for the campaign. Almost 20% of the grassroots revenue we raised in 2020 for Biden was from SMS exclusively. And knowing that post-election, his response rate has been a little bit depleted since there's not anything quite as urgent as defeating Donald Trump. We've been finding new and interesting ways to reach out to folks over SMS that is like a little bit more personalized and also revolves a lot around response, since we know that that is a nice thing that we aren't always able to do over email. But when we capped the Georgia elections in January, we kind of looked at all of the programs we currently had running, how we were reaching out to people over email and SMS, specifically in Action Network, and what information we were gleaning from them and how it might be useful to update that heading into the midterms. One of the things we decided to reconfigure was our SMS welcome series. Previously, we were using this as a way to just get folks to kind of immediately donate to the DNC or to the Biden list, because that was what was most important to us at the time. But in building for 2020, we wanted to make sure we were collecting information around if people were more interested in donating or volunteering or maybe both. And luckily, Action Network's tools gives us the opportunity to not only collect that information, but also personalize our series based on that. So as folks move through our SMS welcome series, we're able to say, hey, you were interested in volunteering, here's a Mobilize link. Or, hey, a couple of days ago, you said you were interested in donating, here's an ActBlue link, which has just really changed the level of engagement we're seeing off the bat for folks, even though we know that people are already really primed to take action over SMS. So that's been huge. We've also used this style of response in one-off broadcast text to our list. Specifically, a very cool example we did back when the Biden or the White House was pushing for the American Families Plan and infrastructure plan. We sent a text from President Biden collecting responses around what folks were most interested in, getting passed based off of that legislation. Also, caveat, this is an older example, but I think it's quite cool. I think, back in the day when email was first a thing, there was some novelty in getting emails from folks who were surrogates and feeling like those were actually from them. I think that has worn off a little bit, but I think based off of response rate, it still seems to be a thing that is true over SMS. So not only just sending a one-off text, asking folks to donate from that person, but asking them for their actual input, I think has a real impact, because, we are really interested in these results and actually compiled them and shared them with our leadership team. Because our list is not just a way for us to raise money for the DNC. While that is one of our objectives, it's also a really great way for us to get a pulse on how folks are feeling about all the policy that we're working so hard to get passed and get their input too. So this tool has really, really powerful for us.
Cool. Thank you, Jess. Yeah, I love hearing about ways that we can use mobile to kind of do some of the advocacy that Rachel talked about and driving actions, and then thinking about not only the way that we can fundraise through mobile and kind of the unique reach that we get, but then also how do we simulate conversations using tools like ladders or like, a welcome series, even looking at the mobile inbox to still have that engagement and response. So I love this example, and I think that is what we have in deck play, as Marvin refers to it. So I'm going to kick it back over to Marvin for some more general questions.
That's awesome. I learned just so much in the little section with Jess and Rachel. One of the questions that I talked a lot to probably organizations that are really thinking about adopting a mobile program, kind of like feeling their way through how they should do it and what makes sense. And one of the things, Jess, you talked about that I thought would be particularly helpful is when there's not like a huge election or a big event, how do you keep that ongoing conversation through mobile and really have people feel like they're can engage when you're not gonna blow numbers out with fundraising at that particular moment or maybe in some level of taking action, but you want to kind of keep the conversation going and kind of build that relationship with the supporter. Any suggestions there for organizations that are trying to sort of figure that out?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's been, feedback. I think one of the things that's been incredibly powerful for us using Action Network has been our ability to segment our SMS list. SMS is different from email in that there is an associated cost with the messages. So we're a little more careful about how we test certain content, especially when it comes to making sure that it has a nice ROI. So I think, Action Network has given us the ability by having our email and SMS list in the same place to target people based off of their activity on either channel, which has been a big change for us. We just have visibility into who is more likely to take action post-election, and that's been majorly helpful. But beyond that, the A/B testing tool has also been super, super useful. It's hard to know immediately after a big election like the one last year what people will want to take action on. And we've been able to use the testing tool to do things like test an SMS that talks heavily about voter protection against one that talks heavily about Roe v. Wade, to kind of get a better understanding of what people are actually motivated around. And that has given us a lot of data to shape our program and to make sure we're still getting the results we need heading into the midterms.
That's awesome. Rachel, anything that you want to add there, what you've seen and kind of worked through as well in that area of kind of no big event and no big campaign engagement, and how you kind of keep the home fires burning and keep that conversation going?
Yeah. Daily Kos is constantly running organic campaigns, and we also have the luxury of having a large media site as well. So we have a lot of content. If you're on our email list, you would know that. If you go to our site, you know that. And so, mobile actually for us became a second or a third, actually probably more like a fifth way to talk to people. And so it really became a complementary channel that would allow us to continue to talk to people where they are and where they want to be talked to. One of the things that, one of the other interesting things that I had noted here about our mobile program is that some of our highest engagement comes